privacy is a right that we should be fighting for. Today, many are simply too oblivious or complacent with big tech companies harvesting their data, storing, and selling it, and in the midst of all this, privacy tools such as Tor browser, virtual private networks, proxies, and other such things have come into existence to combat the massive surveillance, tracking, and strict data retention laws. Some countries have such a large surveillance of the population that they oppress them and do not let them have rights to access media. Take China for example. The citizens over there do not have access to outside sources and media, and trying to do so will significantly risk imprisonment. High censorship is one of the reasons Tor was created, but did you know that the US government were actually the ones to invent the idea of onion routing, and they were responsible for the Tor browser's invention? Tor is free and open source, and it aims to fight censorship, mass surveillance, and tracking, as well as data harvesting, and it provides you a dark and deep side of the web which is normally inaccessible with normal browsers and search engines. While Tor is very safe and secure, it is extremely important to have a good understanding of OPSEC, operational security. You need to understand compartmentalization as well, and possibly look at signing up for a VPN service, which can act as an extra layer of protection on top of the Tor browser, so it cannot be traced back to the user, and your ISP or government might only ever see the VPN connection, not the connection to Tor, unless the VPN was to leak your real IP address, which can happen if it drops out, and the kill switch is not enabled. Depending on data retention laws specific to your country, you may or may not need to use a VPN with Tor, but in places which have tight data retention, it is highly recommended to use a VPN or some sort of disguise with the Tor browser, to avoid alerting your ISP, who will alert the authorities local to your area, that you are using Tor, and this can be used against you, if for whatever reason that was to be traced later on down the track to be used against you in some way. So please do not use Tor without a VPN if you are living in countries where the data retention laws are extensive. You would also want to go with a trustworthy and reputable VPN, such as Proton, Mullvad, NordVPN, etc. Any of the well-known ones are reputable. Most of them do not keep logs. It's the actual servers you connect to that can keep logs. But this also depends on the specific country you're going to and the laws and regulations surrounding VPNs in that country. People need to become increasingly aware that our everyday devices, including our phones, PCs, tablets, Chromebooks, etc., are all being used to actively monitor, spy, and sell our data. And phones are especially bad because they are always tied to a physical geolocation or a real-world identity through the registered SIM card. Not only that, phone numbers are so easily traceable it's not funny, and even with no registered SIM card, cops can locate your phone because it's made to have geolocation features which easily allows it to be traced and tracked down. This is how a lot of criminals who use phones in crimes get caught. You may also know about Silk Road, a popular dark web marketplace that was seized and shut down in 2015. The founder and owner of Silk Road ruined his operational security by sending an email to someone who may have been his friend, using Gmail, and as we know, Google is not at all considerate when it comes to your privacy, and the cops were able to find his coordinates and locate him, based on real-world information associated with his Google account, that leaked his anonymous hidden one, which completely ruined his anonymity and thus led to the police seizing and arresting him, and Silk Road was gone from that day onward. But the dark web is never the same. Sites are constantly going and coming. So while certain marketplaces get busted, other newbies pop up to replace them. It's not something that government agencies and law enforcement are able to shut down, simply because it's such a large underground market, but we could leave the tales of the dark web for another video. Phones are not the devices you should be using for banking, social media, etc., and if you are to use them for that, you must keep everything compartmentalized. Too many people have gotten complacent with their phones and then keep their eggs in one basket, which is a massive no-no if you're someone who knows how to stay secure. Is it any wonder data breaches compromise many accounts? Too many people have trusted these companies to have their data and freely sell it, but when that company has your data, the feds, cops, anyone in power can easily access it, and this poses a threat to everyone, regardless of the country you live in, because it means that at any time, the company may be requested to hand over the data. Sometimes, however, the cops do not need a warrant to access that data to then find someone committing a potential crime, and regardless of whether a crime is actively being committed, it can still be used against them, and sometimes, these companies freely give it to the ones who have ultimate power, but only in countries where that level of ruthlessness can be gotten away with, such as in Turkey. A citizen was sentenced thanks to Google selling their data to the Turkish government, who then used that to get the police of Turkey to arrest and sentence this innocent civilian to prison, for absolutely no crime whatsoever. And yeah, Google just told us how bad they really are simply by doing that. You guys need to realize that your data, and your every move, search, shop, etc., is constantly being monitored, whether it's your ISP, it could even be a VPN provider who does collect logs, or the servers themselves log your data. However, most providers do not keep logs. Also, it is important to remember that the very system you use also holds lots of valuable information. It's just that phones and tablets, and even Chrome OS devices, are such a massive security risk, because for one, you do not have root access to the guts of the OS. And that's usually very complex to do on most Android devices. It's not for the faint of heart, and your phone or tablet is always able to track you, even when it's not connected to any network, and even with no SIM card, it can still be located by law enforcement. So never ever use your phone for browsing the dark web, never ever use it for activities that require high security and a low profile. Never ever keep all your eggs in one basket, try to compartmentalize things as best as you can. You do not have to use Cube's OS, or go Edward Snowden level, you can simply keep accounts to different services on separate devices, so that if one gets compromised, your others do not. But usually, it's the end user's own fault that causes them to experience malware attacks, viruses, whatever, and it is very important you read up on how to stay safe online, and installing antivirus is a must. I always hear lots of people say AV is not necessary. I am sorry guys, but you're so wrong, it is not funny. Antivirus is great for protecting computers, especially Windows systems, as they are by far the largest target. Then comes Mac OS, Android, and possibly other systems, and Linux is not really a target but can still be infected, damaged, or compromised. If you do consider using Tor, do not do it on a Windows or Macintosh system. You are to use Linux or a distro specifically designed to run over the Tor network, such as Tails OS, Unix, etc., as these distros do a great job of really keeping you private and anonymous, as best as they possibly can. But it's always important to remember that full anonymity is not within reach, and it actually would potentially be a pointless exercise, because participating in everyday life makes it impossible to gain full anonymity. And your online activity is just part of who you really are. It's a huge way to identify us users because a lot of people are surrounded by technology and have not got a lot of choice other than to use it, even if they cannot work it or figure out how to use it. And using a private phone with a private carrier is impossible, just not feasible, and could be costly. And installing a system on a phone that does not monitor you can be very hard and is often time-consuming and very complex. Again, not for the faint of heart, so Android users can easily stop Google spying on them by signing out of Google accounts, and this way, they cannot monitor or collect any data from you or your phone. Windows and Mac users can simply stop using Microsoft and Apple accounts to gain a bit of extra anonymity, and Linux users do not need to worry about data harvesting, as all Linux distros do not collect, store, and sell any info about you or your system. Furthermore, you need to stop using browsers like Google Chrome, and opt for a private one such as Brave Browser, LibRayWolf, Mullvad Browser, and for the fullest and best anonymity and privacy possible, the Tor browser. But Tor is only needed if you have a need to access Onion sites. Using Brave with Tor is great because all it does is run Brave over the Tor network, and while you're not supposed to access Onion sites using Brave, you will have extra anonymity thanks to your traffic being routed over the Tor network. Seriously consider using a VPN, read up on their terms and services, and maybe even consider paying them in Monero, XMR, if you would like to do transactions more anonymously. Do note however that not all providers can accept cryptocurrencies, and sometimes using a free VPN is all you need. It really depends on what you need a VPN for. For web browsing and surfing the dark web, they are completely fine to use, but for more tasks like torrenting, streaming, etc., you may want to consider paying. And possibly see which one is the best value for money, as this can allow faster speeds, access to more countries and servers, and it allows you to accomplish more, if you really need to. Finally, stop using services like Facebook, Reddit, Instagram, Twitter, etc. These companies are massive harvesters and also have been known to compromise and sell off some of their users, which is disgraceful, but it's what gets them their money. If the cops demand data from one of these companies, like any big tech company, they will happily hand over that data, and even users who don't use Facebook can be tracked through links, ads, even just viewing it without signing in. Facebook and other platforms can and will track you even if you do not use them, so consider using Tor to browse these networks, as they might have official Onion versions. Facebook certainly has one, and this way, you will prevent them from knowing your real IP address, and therefore your real location, as well as making it impossible for them to identify who is browsing their site. And if millions of people were to start browsing over Tor, they would significantly reduce the amount of data harvesting. But unfortunately, So many online activities require us to use our personal emails, passwords, phone numbers, etc., which are all connected to a real-world account, and Google accounts, Microsoft accounts, social media accounts, etc. Those are also real-world identities that can always be revealed and potentially sold, if the company thinks it's necessary. Stop being complacent with data harvesting. Stop letting Google, Microsoft, and the big bad tech companies harvest, sell, and trade our data. We ultimately pay the price in the end, and it's not a good nor cheap one. It will cost you your life in some cases. Is it really worth it giving Google, Microsoft, or whoever all your data just so you can use their products and services? Absolutely not, but it is necessary in the modern world. Everyone is a number in the system. You cannot avoid surveillance. It is the norms of this world, and it is actually necessary. However, many have become far too complacent and actually agree with removing privacy tools, blocking them, stuffing operating system shit full of telemetry, tracking, bloat, etc., that literally tracks your every move. Your phone or tablet is no different whatsoever. Many are simply too oblivious, or do not care enough about their privacy, and if you're not careful, you could find the cops on your doorstep, charging or arresting you for a completely non-existent internet crime. So just think twice before you decide to give big tech companies all your data and access to your real-world information, and think twice about using Windows, Mac OS, Android, or iOS. These systems are tracking you every second. There's no way to stop it. The only way to have a more privacy-respecting system is to switch to Linux, and don't believe the myth that Linux collects your data as well. No, it does not. The only things that will, if you use anything that does, are going to be your web browser, search engine, the very software you install and use, if it has telemetry and tracking, etc. Linux itself is free from this because it is not something that developers can easily hide. Thanks to it being open source, people can eradicate an issue before it becomes a serious problem. So next time you hear someone say Linux collects your data and sells it as well, take it with a grain of salt and do your own research. You can judge from personal experience as well. Finally, it is important to remember that full anonymity is just not a thing you can have. You can have pretty good privacy, PGP, but there is no such thing as being fully anonymous, even when using Unix, Cubes OS, Tails OS, etc. These systems can still become compromised and leak your real identity, and there is great risk of legal action being taken against you if you are found to be using Tor or VPNs in a nation where it is blocked or heavily restricted. So before you start using Tor, or a VPN, read up on the VPN and data retention laws in your country just to be on the safe side of caution. Using Tor with a VPN is strongly recommended for most people living in all countries. We need to start fighting for our right to have privacy, and everyone needs to see what's wrong with these companies harvesting, selling, and storing our very valuable personal information. We need to stop the big bad Google, Microsoft, and other big tech companies from doing such things to us. Otherwise it will only continue to get increasingly extensive and become more of a concern to those who do not like it. Start using Tor and a VPN today if you want to gain extra anonymity. Tor is free to download and use, and a free VPN will be the perfect combination, or you could even just use Brave with Tor mode, if you do not want to browse onion sites, but want to have extra anonymity. Online privacy is a huge issue. It is up to you, the user, to implement safe and secure practices into your everyday online life. Do not browse Twitter, Facebook, or other sites without using VPNs in Tor, or Brave with Tor mode, as you will not prevent them from tracking and identifying you through your very device, IP address, and location. Using Tor and a VPN is the best combination to stay as private as possible, and you can view news sites, social media, or any site with an official onion site, through a dark web link or domain, and this will prevent them from tracking you and selling your data. Stop using Google Search as well, or Microsoft Bing, and instead opt for a more private one like DuckDuckGo, Swisscows, Ecosia, etc., that do not collect, store, and sell any of your personal information. With that now out of our way, let's draw this video to a close. Thanks so much for watching this video. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. See you next video. Bye for now.